everybody. This is Dianne. Welcome to Biters.
This is Marnell. We are podcasting the two-part season finale, Things Bad Begun and Sleigh Ride.
Of Fear the Walking Dead.
It's over!
So it's 30 degrees here. I had to give straw to our dogs tonight, our dogs who live outside, because it's so cold, and it feels like it should be the end of the season for Fear the Walking Dead. And I did do my cardio because people don't change. We just walk in circles.
I like that.
I thought that was a really good quote, and it was a pretty good setup for just kind of how messed up everybody still is.
Yeah, I mean, we did kind of come full circle. We're kind of back on the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is kind of diving into rotting potpourri right away, but are they back in LA? Are those the aqueducts in LA? I mean, I don't know. I've never been to LA.
No, water flows south.
Oh, never mind.
Well, the little girl walking up going, hola. Might have tipped him off. But hey, that could still be LA.
Is that right?
But, yeah, no.
So I'm not a total moron. Well, okay, so did you rate them together since it was the mid-season, or no, it wasn't the mid-season finale, it was the season finale. Did you rate them as one, or did you rate each episode separately?
I rated them as one because you're right. I would have rated the first episode lower and the second episode higher. So I just did a middle of the road for the two.
Okay, you go first.
I rated it a 4.45 final bargaining chips. Which was 0.05 lower than I had rated episode 14, El Matadero, because I really, really was enjoying the Alicia and Diana show. And we didn't get much of that. So as cool as this was, as many slates we wiped clean here, I really love the Alicia and Diana show.
So I rated it 4.1 out of 5 bloody hammers.
Ooh.
But I am going to tell you that if I had been rating the last episode by itself, I probably would have said 4.67 out of 5 Christmas aprons.
Wow, so you really didn't like that first episode.
I really didn't like the first episode very much. I kind of felt like, oh God, okay, here we go again. We're slogging through. And then I really, really liked the second episode. In fact, I think, in all honesty, it is probably my all-time favorite of the series so far. Which is really funny because initially I didn't like the like holiday flashbacks or fantasy sequence or whatever, and just like you, I appreciated them more after I thought them through a little bit more.
Right. It's one of those where you're like, hold on, I have to go overthink this.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. On the surface, I was like, what do we do? Where, what? Like Thomas O'Mara, he hated the Christmas scenes. Right. And, you had to overthink them. And we will get into that.
I think, I think they weren't truly realized until they were overthought.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have some numbers from El Matadero. So it had 2.23 million same-day views. I looked at the overall cable views for the week, and it was soundly defeated by Monday Night NFL Football. Well, what other kind of football, right? Monday Night NFL. 11.9 million views for Monday Night Football.
Wow.
But, in fairness, still barely touches a bad night on Walking Dead Prime.
Right.
But right. So the week that El Matadero was on, it was actually topped by news and sports, and Fear the Walking Dead did not make the top 25 for that week for cable. I think we may see an uptick with this week, with it being the season finale and with, I think, the second episode being so good.
Right, right. And then all the headlines about everyone thinks they know who the crossover character is going to
Right.
be.
Well, we're definitely going to have to get into that.
Absolutely. Because, as he would probably say, and I'm going to swear, so you might have to bleep me, loose ends make my ass itch.
In all fairness, I don't really think there's any loose ends in terms of Abe's fate. But...
No, but the loose ends as far as who our crossover character is going to be.
Good Lord, the loose ends as far as who our characters are going to be.
Yeah, leave it to Fear the Walking Dead to possibly kill off everyone but the most loathed character.
Right? So I think this is really the reason Thomas O'Mara didn't like the second episode, because Madison
survived.
Almost drowned.
Yeah, almost. The ghost of Travis saved her.
No, actually, I think Travis tried to save her and didn't save her once again.
Maybe.
So, really fast, our director, and I thought this was interesting. I know you don't get Talking Dead because you're buying this on the internet. I actually sat down and watched Talking Dead. Andrew Bernstein was the director, and we've talked about him before. He worked on 12 Monkeys, he's worked on The West Wing, he's got 6 episodes of Fear the Walking Dead to his credit. But Coleman Domingo was saying that he really respects Andrew Bernstein as an author. As a director. And he actually, when he was not acting in these last 2 episodes, followed Andrew Bernstein around and basically understudied him as a director.
So I wonder if we're going to see a few episodes directed by Coleman.
I was kind of wondering the same thing, and I would actually be okay with that, because despite the fact that Victor Strand horrified me, I really like Coleman Domingo. He's really awesome.
Right.
And he's kind of a Renaissance man, so I would love to see some episodes directed by Coleman Domingo.
I would too. I would like to see the direction he would take it in.
The other thing I would like to say about Andrew Bernstein before we move on is that he actually directed an episode of Rectify, which is a link to the guy who played Proctor John. And I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a few minutes, because of course he is my featured cast member.
Oh, good.
The only other thing I thought is Andrew Bernstein worked on How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And I was like, maybe, just maybe, he used some Whoville props in his Madison dream sequences.
Oh, that's funny.
Wouldn't that be an awesome Easter egg?
That would be interesting.
It probably didn't happen, but it would be funny.
Now I might have to go back and look. Maybe before next season comes up.
You'll rewatch The Grinch and then rewatch the last episode of this season.
Yeah.
Right on. Let's see. So Bad Things Begun was written by Jamie O'Brien. And I don't know that name has come up before. I don't think we've talked about Jamie O'Brien before.
I don't think so.
I think with the spelling, it must be a woman, but I'm not sure. Jamie O'Brien has worked on Hell on Wheels before, which is the connection to AMC. Of course.
Yep.
Looks like Jamie has this one episode of Fear the Walking Dead, and then actually has also worked on Big Love, which apparently was really good. It just was not an episode, or not a series that I really got into. I haven't watched it, but I've heard amazing things about it.
Me either.
And then Sleigh Ride, the second episode of the season, was written by Mark Richard, or maybe Mark Richard, I don't know. I could be slaughtering the pronunciation. But we've talked about him before, too. He's worked on Fear the Walking Dead, Hell on Wheels. So I think it's kind of interesting that there's that continuity between the two writers.
Right.
These are people who have written for the same characters before and have had to work within the same universe before. So and I think it did show a fair amount of continuity from one episode to the next.
Well, and it looks like Mark Richard also worked on Tyrant, and our director Andrew Bernstein also worked on Tyrant.
Oh, I missed that connection. Good for you.
Yeah. So it looks like Mark wrote a few series, and Andrew directed looks like just one episode. But yeah, they did work together previously.
Well, and I think that's kind of the fun thing about looking at some of these things is just to kind of see where the connections are and how inbred things are.
Right. It's a very small world.
It is a very small world. All right. So featured cast is Ray McKinnon, who played Proctor John.
Yay!
I thought he was really pretty compelling. He was definitely a creepy Chester molester vibe, but I thought he was really compelling.
So I was a big Sons of Anarchy fan.
So you recognize him from Sons of Anarchy.
I did not recognize him from Sons of Anarchy. I recognized him from
Deadwood.
No. Coach Cooper. Coach Cotton.
In The Blind Side.
In The Blind Side,
yeah.
Yes. Coach Cotton in Blind Side.
Which, I mean, when you look at that, so who has Blind Side ties? Irony Singleton. I want to say one of our other main cast members has Blind Side ties, and I can't remember who offhand.
Yeah, we've talked about this
Was it maybe Lawrence Gilliard?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember, but yeah, so I mean, there's definitely ties there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, but it was so funny to see him, as this bad guy and everything, and I'm like, that's Coach Cotton.
So we talked about Sons of Anarchy, we talked about Blindside. He had an arc on Deadwood, which for me, immediately when I think of Deadwood, I think of Ian McShane, who is in American Gods as Mr. Wednesday. Mm-hmm. I meant to look this up because I really love the X-Files. He played a character named Mad Wayne in an episode called Improbable in 2002. He was in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And his very first credit was a really small bit part in Driving Miss Daisy in 1989.
Yeah, he's had quite the interesting career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing that I wanted to mention about Rectify, which I will be honest and say I have not watched, but they were talking about this on Talking Dead. He actually is the creator, writer, director, and showrunner for the Sundance series called Rectify, which is an award-winning series. And again, you go back and that's his connection with one of his connections with Andrew Bernstein.
Huh. Yeah, I've heard of it. It sounds interesting. It's kind of right up our alley, kind of deals with, I don't know if it's a true story, but it deals with a guy trying to put his life back together after 19 years on death row, after DNA evidence exonerates him. So
that is right up our alley.
That is.
Which, by the way, I just have to put a quick plug in. Have you started watching Mindhunter yet?
No, I haven't.
So I read the book probably 20 years ago. It's a book by John Douglas, who was one of the original profilers at the behavioral sciences unit in Quantico. And it's a book about how kind of the science of profiling developed. And this series is based on that book and based on John Douglas's work with the FBI.
I've read books by a guy named, I think, Richard or Robert or something like that. He was also
just one of those R's.
Yeah, I can't. It sprung to mind. I've read some books about the days when they were just formulating, profiling based on crime scene evidence and starting to interview serial killers rather than just locking them away in dark rooms forever, trying to get inside their heads. And
well, you would like Mindhunter.
Yeah, totally up my alley.
Quite good. And the dude who's playing Edmund Kemper, the co-ed killer, who is one of the serial killers that John Douglas interviewed quite extensively, the guy who is playing Ed Kemper is perfect.
Awesome.
To the point of scary, creepy, perfect. So, sorry, that is a total detour, probably because of you talking about the plotline of Rectify, but very, very good. The one other thing I had to say about Ray McKinnon, the actor who plays Proctor John, dude is 6'2".
Huh.
And I thought he looked like a scrawny little dude, so I was really shocked when I read that.
I think it's probably because he tends to hang out with rough and tumble bikers or rough and tumble cowboys and the stuff that we've seen that maybe he just doesn't stand out that much. Yeah.
He was definitely scrawny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I mean, his jeans definitely sagged.
Yeah, that's definitely the same look as is in Sons of Anarchy. Is that they're just all road weary, and they basically live off of Jack Daniels and bar pretzels.
Don't we all do that? Actually, okay, I'm totally detouring again. So I had the opportunity last week to work with a physician assistant student who is quite bright and really funny, and he recommended Japanese whiskey to me. Did you even know that there were whiskey distilleries in Japan?
No, but it doesn't surprise me.
I didn't either, but so the brands that he recommended are Nika, starting with an N, and Hikari Harmony.
Huh.
So I think I'm going to send Todd a bottle of Hikari Harmony for his birthday. So I'll have to get the review from Todd.
Good thing he doesn't listen to this podcast.
Right? It's a really good thing that he doesn't even care about The Walking Dead. I think maybe kind of.
Let alone fear The Walking Dead.
Right. So, are you ready to launch into your good, bad, and ugly?
I am.
With a reminder that you and Bri have to decide, are you guys going old school or are you going epic fail, and epic? In
honor of Brian coming back, I will leave it up to him because I swing both ways.
Ah!
But
okay. You know he doesn't listen to this, so you know you're going to have to negotiate. Because either that or you guys are going to show up and he's going to be like, epic fail, and you're going to be like, wait, I did my good, bad, and ugly.
Maybe we'll just both speak different languages.
Oh, but you speak the language of love.
Yes. Our love for Walking Dead.
All right, tell me you're good.
My good is the Proctors. So I know we lost like a ton of them at the dam, but I'm pretty sure there's a ton more where that came from. And most of all, Proctor John lived. So
I think you're right. I think he lived.
I really think that, I don't think we performed open back surgery on him with no anesthesia. We'll get into that later.
Thank you.
For him to just die, at the end of the episode, I think that these are going to be the big bads for the next season. We're setting it up for, the family to be hunted by them.
We're setting up for a road trip to Houston.
Yeah, setting up for a road trip to Houston. And so I really, really liked these guys as the bad guys. I think we're starting to get more worthy enemies. They're smarter and more brutal. They have, more things accessible to them. And they're a little sick and twisted. I mean, they're eating parts of the brains of the fresh walkers so that they can fight harder and not have to sleep.
Right.
Like, that's pretty hardcore.
And risking turning, or at least at least they think they're risking turning. We don't know that for sure. Is the zombie virus destroyed in the GI tract? We really don't know.
I think that they probably tested this on a few people before they tried it. The higher ups tried it themselves.
So Troy was on the payroll.
Yeah. Right. But that's part of what I'm saying is I think these bad guys survive because they're willing to do the things that we're not. And Proctor, I think, had a thing for Alicia, whether it was kind of a mentor or if he was attracted to her. I
think it was all of the above, Squicky.
Yeah, I couldn't quite tell. But he was totally willing to just kill her because I'm going to kill your mom and I'm going to kill your brother. And then you're going to want revenge.
You. Yeah.
Right. So, I'm just going to I'm not going to, keep you alive in one of my brothels. I'm not going to, try and make you see my way and understand. I'm not going to make you listen to Easy Street over and over until my side. Like he's like, no, I'm sorry, I have to kill you because I can't trust you. So bye. Like, it's been nice, but you got to die. So like, this is why bad guys survive, is because they're willing to they don't take crap. Like all this, oh, but Troy's a good guy and Troy did this and no, you kill the bad people. You kill the people that you cannot trust. And so like, finally we have some smart, worthy adversaries that are going to be, I think, our big bad for next season.
Very cool. And I think you're right. I don't think we've seen the last of the Proctors, and I really hope we haven't seen the last of Proctor John.
Yeah, no, I don't think that we have. I think Proctor John is going to pop his evil head up and bring a ton more men with him, because it sounded like he had a very long reach throughout the South. So that was my good.
Well, my good was Troy's death. Finally. God. I'm so glad that miserable is finally out of his misery, and out of ours too.
It was too quick.
It was pretty satisfying, though. I mean, there was a really nice hole in his head.
Yeah, I like that initial hit, and then he looked up at her just like, I can't believe he really did that, and then she takes the second swing. But, like, it needed to be public, and it needed to be more brutal, and he needed to turn, and, I don't know. It was missing something, but I am definitely glad that he is finally dead.
So I have to tell you, I misread. I really thought it was going to be Daniel. You know, the way that Daniel kept digging at Nick and was like, it was Troy. Troy was responsible for Ophelia's death. I totally thought Daniel was going to kill him. So I was really shocked and quite pleased when Madison did it.
Well, and I didn't think it was going to happen at all, especially into the second to the last episode,
Right.
It wasn't in the last episode. I thought they would have saved that for the season finale.
Well, and he and Nick definitely had the whole buddy thing going on, so I thought they were going to keep that going.
Right. And everyone kept covering for him again.
Yes.
Nick was covering for him, and Madison, when they were talking to Ephraim and what's her name,
Lola.
when they were warning him about the Proctors coming, Madison's like, I'll vouch for him. Why?
So I have to tell you, I wrote down, it was a great effect. So the gag of him getting killed was great. It was totally unexpected, just in terms of who it was going to be. And it was well-deserved. And Nick was so shocked. And I actually thought Nick was being pretty whiny with Madison about the whole thing.
Me too.
And the last thing, and I told you that I was going to share this with you. So on Talking Dead, they run through like the tweets that they received during the episodes. They'll pick 2 or 3 that they really like. And there was a tweet about Troy's death, and it was, wow, I didn't see that coming, and neither did Troy.
That's funny.
So what was your bad?
Strand.
Yeah, that was kind of painful, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm just like, he's still trying to snake his way into a better deal. And yeah, he's trying to help Madison and her family along, but ultimately, by trying to get a better deal, by trying to maneuver the chess pieces around the board on his own, he's just making it worse for everybody.
So I was seriously bummed, because I think, like you, I'm a big Victor Strand fan.
Yes.
Like, he is really my favorite character in this whole shebang. And seeing him just really mess it up again.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe his incompetence is his ultimate legacy. That's disappointing.
Is it incompetence, or is it his failure to be able to sell the whole deal and deliver it? I mean, he's terrible on his delivery for these deals that he's making. And, he's constantly having to be bailed. I mean, we met him in a prison, basically, a holding center.
He came off as so suave, right? He doesn't come off as suave anymore.
No, that veneer has slipped away completely. Yeah. I mean, and he tries to bargain right up until the end, and it's very sad that...
I agree. He's kind of become a little bit pathetic.
Yeah.
He's not as threatening and as cool as he was. It's more like, oh, come on, Victor, really, again?
And I see where he was going when he was up talking to Madison, and he's like, I see melons and beans and, things like that. But
he was totally saying that to her as he knew that the Proctors were descending.
But he was supposed to be given an upper level role in the oversight of the dam. That was part of the deal with the Proctors.
Right, but he just can't carry that through. Yeah,
and unfortunately, Troy and Nick come and they spoil that. And, he did not have a plan for anything to go wrong. When Strand makes a plan, he doesn't anticipate anything messing with that plan. And inevitably something comes in and just shatters whatever he intended to do. And he's left to try and talk his way out of it, or buy his way out of it, or run.
So Strand makes a plan, a single plan with no contingency plans.
Right. There is no plan B.
Well, and the other thing is I jotted in my notes, look at what Madison got in return for giving up their weapons, giving up their water. I mean, she really, really mortgaged Brokejaw Ranch and Taka to the hilt for Victor. Yeah. And look at what Victor did in return.
Yeah.
And, it was really interesting because, of course, Coleman Domingo was on Talking Dead, and Chris Hardwick was talking to him about this whole dynamic, and he was like, come on, man, when is Strand going to stop looking out for himself? And Coleman Domingo was like, no, he's doing it for the whole group. He's doing it for Madison and her kids. And I was like, really? And then Chris Hardwick said, dude, I think you played this character for too long.
He believes his own line.
Right?
But yeah, Strand will always be number one for Strand. Yes. And, if it helps everyone else, great. But yeah.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, it really, really is.
And I don't know why I had such hopes for a con man, but I really thought Strand was better than that.
Yeah, I definitely did too. What do you think would have happened if Nick hadn't pickpocketed him?
I don't know.
Would he have done what Nick did and saved the family, or tried to save the family, and made good on the promise to blow the dam?
I don't think Strand would have sacrificed himself. I think he might have blown the dam if he'd seen some benefit in it. But I think you're right. I mean, ultimately, Victor is for Victor.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's a point of pride for him that he's never had to kill anybody.
Which that almost came to not be the case any longer.
Right. Right. He grievously injured Salazar.
Right. Well, and I'm kind of looking back, and I'm looking at Strand's pattern. I mean, he messed up Abby's place after Thomas died. He messed up the refuge that they had at the hotel. I mean, it's just been one thing after another after another. And this time I was like, okay, just like I said that the whole Hair Star thing in Preacher was getting to be just a little too much for me, I'm kind of getting to the place where they're going to have to really redeem Strand, because his repeated pattern of I am just out for Strand is getting to be too much for me.
Maybe Strand needed to go on a walkabout with Taka and Crazy Dog and get his act together, Strand needs to go on a journey and figure things out. And yeah.
He really needs to have that Han Solo hero's journey where he learns that there is something greater than himself.
Yeah, he needs a Cheeseman.
Yes! Oh my god, maybe that's the crossover! I think you figured it out.
Strand finds Cheeseman.
Strand finds Cheeseman, or Strand finds Morgan, and Morgan is his Cheeseman.
Morgan is
Eastman, his cheesemaker.
Yes. That's funny.
That is your bold prediction for season 4.
Not quite, but I can have fantasies about it. Madison can have her Christmas fantasies.
That's right. Cheese or Christmas? Cheese or Christmas? I would choose cheese anytime. Cheese and Halloween.
So, yeah, that was my bad. My beef with Strand, still trying to make a deal and climb the ladder, and he has no accountability to anybody but himself, and he gets himself in too deep.
He always comes off looking as a pathetic lackey.
Yeah. He doesn't have the follow through. I mean, or he's got too many balls in the air, and no plans of letting any of them go anytime soon. And I'm just, I'm missing my analogy on him. He would have a great Confucius type cookie fortune to describe himself, but I just, there's something lacking in his suave routine.
So we wish for Strand that he has his hero's journey and comes back to us as General Solo, not Han Solo, the Buccaneer. Well, so my bad was pretty simple. My bad was just the feeling that it took so much slogging through episode 1 of this season finale to get to what I thought was a really great ending. I just, it kind of really characterizes the uneven nature that we have seen throughout now 3 seasons of this series. And, we always say, oh, this episode's great. Maybe this is finally, it's going to take off. And I'm kind of tired of saying that. But I find myself there again because I really did like the very last episode.
Yeah, and, like I said, I think that we may have kind of come full circle. They were back on the water, and we also have an emissary that I think is going to be a smart one, and one that I'm really afraid of. Like,
an adversary, you mean?
And I'm sorry, an adversary. And
I was thinking emissary. Well, Madison is our emissary into, and Alicia is our emissary into.
So I think that they're going to be a really smart bad guy going forward. And I think they're going to be a lot more interesting than the bad guys that we've had previously. The pirates and the crazy lady hoarding all the
dead
walkers
in the basement.
Yeah. So I think that they're really setting them up for a lot of interesting things to come.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to let my bad be a relatively small bad in the scheme of really liking the way that this season ended. So what was your ugly? Was it a good ugly or a bad ugly?
I gotta find my ugly. My ugly was your good.
Troy's death.
Yeah. So, one, at first, I didn't think he was actually dead. Like,
right at first I was like, she just knocked him out.
Yeah. And then even seeing the wound when he, rolled downhill, I was like, yeah.
It's just a flesh wound.
Just the scratch. So I was like, yeah, I still think that he could either get up and, he's probably got a pretty severe brain bleed but or he's going to get up and be a walker, or, like, I wasn't totally sure he was dead. And then of course the water rushed in and I'm like, okay, he's dead and everything. But I'm really upset as to why Madison finally killed him. Madison killed him for her own selfish reasons. She didn't kill him because, he killed all those people back at the military station to see how slowly or quickly they would die. She didn't kill him for risking everybody's life at the ranch more than once. She didn't kill him for taking out Gretchen's family, and having to keep that secret. And, she didn't kill him for all of these things. She killed him because he put her family at risk. You're the one who got Travis killed. You're the one who got, put Alicia in danger. You're the one who puts, Nick in danger and me and all of the horrible things that she has covered for and forgiven for and vouched for. And finally she kills him, and it's really unceremonious.
Which, actually is kind of cool. I'm glad that there wasn't this big ceremony or wind up to his death, but I hear what you're saying.
I still feel that she was just very selfish about it.
Well, I think the one thing that I would say, and I think it's very funny that I go back to Strand a little bit, and why do I have such faith that this con man can reinvent himself and actually become a person of integrity, whereas I don't have those illusions about Madison at all. I've always thought Madison is all for herself.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything is an extension of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was very upset that it wasn't Salazar that killed him, or maybe even one of the proctors, found him, and that was the guy who tattled on us, coming to take the dam. And I was really hoping that like Nick would finally see through his BS.
Don't you feel like Nick was just defending him right to the bitter end and beyond?
Beyond.
Nick was still awful to Madison.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question that I jotted down while I was watching Talking Dead. What was your favorite or most anticipated death of the season, and what was your most regretted death of the season?
My most regretted death of the season was Jake.
Okay.
And what was the other one?
What was your most anticipated, or the one that you liked the best?
I think the one that I liked the best, was probably Otto.
Jeremiah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeremiah Otto. 'Cause, if we could have just worked things out with getting the water and Troy, if we would have killed Troy early on,
right?
The whole herd thing wouldn't have been a problem, and maybe we could have set up some trade with the dam, and yeah,
Ophelia would still be alive.
Yeah,
Jake
Ophelia
would still be alive.
Yep.
Most of the people who died in the last 3 episodes would still be alive.
Yeah, I really think that, we knew he was going to die. I figured he died by Madison's hand, but wound up being Nick. And I think that was the obvious one, and I think that was going to solve a lot of problems. You still had Taka's people coming in, and people who have been, raised to hate these people. Everyone had to live together, but I think they could have, I think, going back, I think one of them said, basically in a generation's time,
we could be whole.
Yeah, we could be whole. So, yeah, I mean, realistically, as a show, I knew we weren't going to stay at the ranch, but if it were real life, that would have been ideal.
So I thought In keeping with that, the whole, realistically, we're not going to stay at the ranch. Madison did not, and I'm totally going down writing potpourri, I'm sorry, but Madison was not receptive to, could not envision the dam the way that Victor did. She could
No.
not envision staying there and having crops and having a livelihood and having that fantasy that she had throughout Sleigh Ride.
And why not? I don't understand why not. Because that would be my first thing is I was like, abundance of water. We need to start irrigating and start growing crops.
I wonder if maybe losing the ranch and losing Nick and Alicia, like emotionally losing Nick and Alicia, just
Yeah.
made her not be able to see that any longer.
Yeah, because I mean, since the ranch, what has happened? She's lost Travis. Nick started using again, and Alicia's gone off on her own. So she's kind of a broken woman.
And we say that again and again, yet she keeps coming back. Thomas O'Mara. So before I go into my ugly, I'm going to say the death that I most am satisfied with and that was most anticipated for me was definitely Troy's. I wasn't kidding when I was rejoicing as my good that he is finally gone.
Yes.
He really needed to be put down, and I'm glad that it finally happened.
It was so unexpected. I mean, I thought he was just like going to be a regular through like the next 2-3 seasons, with it. I mean, they were still covering for him right up until his death.
I think the death that I most regret is probably Ophelia's. Because I feel like we were just starting to see Ophelia as someone who was very strong.
Yeah.
And I feel like she and Taka could have really led together.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So my ugly was a good ugly, and it was the dam explosion. Because it was a really great visual effect, and it set up so much.
Yes.
So we've got, does Nick survive? Does Proctor John survive? Does Salazar survive? I love the way it threatened Madison, Alicia, and Strand.
Yep.
I love the way it set up Madison's near drowning.
Yep.
Including that awesome take on the zombie grave.
The take on the zombie grave.
So as she was drowning, she was envisioning getting pulled into Jeremiah Otto's grave by Jeremiah Otto's zombie.
Yeah, and Travis was trying to pull her back out.
Yep. And so it was just such a classic take on that theme that we see again and again in zombie movies.
Right.
And, I will go back to what I said, which is that Travis tried to save Madison repeatedly in her real life, and once again kind of failed to save her in this.
Right.
So I really liked the explosion and all of the things that it set up, that it set into motion.
Yeah. Watching the scene when Nick blows the dam and they can't get the boat to power through. And I kept thinking, having, 6 months out of the year, we have to drive on slick roads. And what's the first thing you do if you start to slide? You turn into the slide and control it.
I was going to say instinctively you slam on the brakes, but that's the wrong answer.
It is. But having managed to get myself out of a couple of slides, some pretty bad ones. I almost took out one of those little coffee hut drive-throughs. Being able to regain control, you have to go with it. You have to control it. And they were never going to get away. They needed to turn around and gun it and head straight for wherever the water took them. The only way out is through.
I think the issue with that, though, is all of the debris from the dam.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, yeah, just several 100,000 pounds of concrete. Meh.
I would have rather gunned it through that hole that was not going to stop, flowing water. I would have rather gunned it through that hole and maybe made it out on the other side in some sort of one piece, even if that, piece was broken, if the Zephyr was broken. And Zodiac, not Zephyr, Zodiac. But I think you would have just had a much better shot if you would have just, in an accident, don't tense up.
Well, and because we focused on Madison, we don't know what happened to Alicia. What happened to Victor?
Victor's got 9 lives. I think he's got about 4 left by my calculation. So,
well, go ahead.
Victor's somewhere upstream or downstream.
Well, and is Alicia going to ultimately be our person who goes to Houston?
I don't know, because, that's where Proctor's going, and he has it out for him now.
Well, I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to evolve. But
yeah,
the explosion of the dam as a catalyst for massive changes.
Yeah, like I was saying, they wiped the slate clean. We have no more Ephraim. We have no more
Queen of the Water. Yeah.
Water Queen. Yeah. There's nobody left from back at the ranch. Troy is gone. We have wiped entire families off the map at this point.
So what happened to Diana? Are we going to see Diana again?
Diana. She's back at the trading post.
And she's kind of with the doctor, who I'm not convinced that we're not going to see that doctor again.
Okay, so yeah, and that
now we're totally headed into rotting potpourri.
We weren't there already? So it's funny, as I was watching this last night, I was like, I know that doctor from somewhere. Where do I know that doctor from? Well, it turns out I know him from a whole freaking lot. He's had a very, very long career, starting in 1984 on Knight Rider.
Oh my God. That is hilarious.
He plays a lot of one-off on, Punky Brewster.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's been a ton. Okay, do you remember a movie from the 80s called Solar Babies?
I vaguely remember that title. I can't honestly say that.
Dig deep.
I remember, but I don't remember.
Jamie Gertz, Jason Patrick.
God.
Post-apocalyptic, the world beneath water. Yeah. It was, if you're looking for a great 80s B movie, Solar Babies is that movie.
Oh my God. So I just want to put out there to the listeners in general, I am not looking for a great bad B movie from the 80s.
Or some of my favorite. And what's even better than a bad B 80s movie is a bad 80s B horror movie.
Oh my God.
He was in Phantasm 2. Not Phantasm 1. Phantasm 2. So, he was in Point Break. Let's see. A really good movie called Bad Girls. And it was a Western starring Madeline Stowe, Mary Stuart Masterson, Andie MacDowell, and Drew Barrymore.
Oh my God. So that kind of vaguely rings a bell too, but not a bell that I'm going to hunt down and ring again.
Right? So, yeah, he's been on so much. I recognized him from so many things. And I was like, okay, I really hope Dr. Baja, which is what we're calling him now.
Oh, okay, I like that. His real
name. Dr. Baja. I really hope that he's going to be a recurring character.
I do too. I don't know who's going to be recurring about anything at this point, but... Do you hear the dogs?
I hear the dogs.
God bless it. I can't even say the husband had one job because he's not here tonight.
Yeah, we're calling him Dr. Baja because he actually, on IMDb, he does not have a character name listed for his
Oh my
listing.
God.
Yeah, so we're calling him Dr. Baja.
So while we're on the subject of Dr. Baja, I'm sorry. Spinal surgery in the zombie apocalypse with no anesthesia other than a local. I know
Okay.
I'm not supposed to do the whole I play a doctor on TV. I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night, but for the love of God!
I was wondering about that. I don't even remember a local being administered.
He did do a local, and he was like, this will make you feel better, or something like that, but it was a local, for the love of God. So I've got to tell you, spinal surgery is fairly specialized. So first of all, I guess if you're in the zombie apocalypse and you're losing function of your legs, maybe you're going to take a chance on whoever is there who formerly had an MD after his name. But most doctors are not trained in spinal surgery.
No, it's very unique that you come across a surgeon,
Let alone a neurosurgeon.
and I don't know. I don't think they went over what kind of doctor this guy was, whether he was a general practitioner.
Yeah, I definitely didn't get the feeling that he was an accomplished surgeon.
Yeah.
But again, I guess if you're in the ZA, you take what you can get.
I would actually trust my veterinarian more with that.
Right?
No, because
Herschel was a better surgeon.
He was. So, I mean, like, my surgeon has taken growths off of dogs before, and he's like, he actually shaved down the femoral head on one of my dogs so that
Let's just be clear, you're a veterinary surgeon, not your personal surgeon.
No, my veterinary surgeon. But I mean, like, he has more like experience with like I would almost call it like battlefield triage medicine, because like
that's probably fair.
What's that?
I said that's probably fair.
At any moment, somebody could come in and their dog will have been ran over by a car with, multiple breaks and, internal injuries and blah, blah, blah. And, he puts everything back together and sews it up, and here's some antibiotics and some pain meds. Come back in 2 weeks, like.
Maybe the crossover is Herschel.
I'm just with you on this whole spinal surgery, while he's away. Wouldn't he pass out from the pain at some point?
I don't know. I and would I be willing to let someone take a tumor out of my back in the zombie apocalypse with a local anesthesia and limited experience? I don't know.
Well, and are we going to get histology back on this crow? Because if you don't cut the entire bruise out of the banana, it's just going to come back.
Right? But he bought Proctodon some time, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah, and that was pretty, yeah.
Yeah.
It required a great deal of suspension of disbelief, and I wasn't quite there. All right, what else you got?
Speaking of suspension of disbelief, Thomas O'Mara did not like the Christmas scenes, the fantasies that Madison was having. And on the surface, I have to agree with him. I did not like them either.
And
however,
I will say I didn't initially like them either.
Yeah, I was like, why is this going on? Where are we going with this? Do we really need this filler in this episode? What's going on? So, having kind of rewatched them and I kind of took notice of a few things that was going on.
You had some really good observations. We talked about this a little bit before we signed on.
In the first one, it's her and Nick and Luciana, and Luciana's got a baby that's like growling.
Right.
And
Let's hope we don't go there with a zombie baby, but
yeah. And then they're standing over Alicia's gravestone. Why is it Alicia that's dead in her weird fantasy?
Well, it's, the only thing that is not about Madison is about Nick. So
I guess, was it kind of a Freudian, since my extension of me left me, it's dead to me?
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, so we're totally going to overthink this, by the way. We're going to go full preacher on it. So, and then without saying a word, like Nick and Luciana just bundle up into a car and like drive off and leave Madison alone. And like, so, you know,
And does this mean that Lucy's not gone?
Oh, no, I don't think she is.
Okay. I didn't think she was either, but
No, I think it's going to pull an Ophelia or she's going to pop up next season somewhere unexpected. But, and then in one of her next dream sequences, she's like doing this Christmas dinner for everyone that she, you know, she was telling Strand about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the table we have Taka or Walker. We're calling him Taka now.
Yeah, I like that.
Taka and Jeremiah Otto and Jake.
No, not Jake. Troy.
No, it was Jake.
Oh, was it Jake? Okay, Jake initially.
It was Jake. Yeah. I didn't see Troy there.
I think Troy was there in one of the later dream sequences.
I don't remember. So Salazar.
Yeah, actually, I remember now because they were talking on Talking Dead, and they were laughing about how the guy who played Troy basically sat in a pool of blood almost the whole time that they filmed it.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway.
So Salazar and then Coop, which people were like, you know, like Dianne was like, I don't remember Coop. You know?
You're going to totally have to refresh everybody's memory about who Coop was.
Coop was one of the guys at the ranch, and he was, you know, part of the kind of paramilitary border fence guys type things. And he and Alicia were the ones that were trying to get everyone to the pantry when their line of RVs failed. And Coop was the one that was kind of being devoured on all sides by the zombies, and Alicia shoots him in the head out of mercy.
And so why was he there?
Yeah, he was there. He was like a third-tier character. And
no one who had any real significance in Madison's life, as far as we know.
Right, and most of these people are dead. Half these people are dead. And she knows it.
And so your other valid thing was someone who is really significant, who we know is dead, wasn't there.
Right. So they show this empty seat and somebody's coming. Madison goes to the door. I'm expecting her to open the door and Travis walks in. No, Strand walks in. Like it was very weird. The people that she had in her little fever dream that were there, and the people who weren't there, Nick wasn't there, Alicia wasn't there, and it obviously doesn't matter that, you know, they were dead according to her mind.
Right, because there was a mixture of dead and alive.
Right. And then the whole serving Otto's head, and yeah, just there was some sort of symbolism that I'm not sure that we all got.
Yeah, I think it's bigger than just, oh my god, okay, here we are with the vehicle of Madison's dream sequence or fantasy sequence. I think you're right. I mean, I think, yes, in the plan of going all preacher on this, yeah, there's more to it.
And then she leaves, you know, and like people reacted very strangely. I mean, Cooper kept eating. And Strand and Strand like kind of looked like, oh, the blood's creeping towards me. He was very nonplussed about it. And Taka cuts off Jake's arm, but he doesn't seem to be too upset about that. Like, and she leaves. She just walks out into a graveyard. And I'm sure it's a graveyard with names we're going to recognize on them.
Well, and we did see a number of names that we recognize, like Alicia, like Jeremiah Otto.
Right, and Jeremiah Otto tries to pull her down into his grave. He was just on the table headless. Now he's pulling her down in this grave. And Travis is trying to pull her back up. And this is while she's all drowning after the Zodiac has crashed through. And so there was something about these dreams that I think we were supposed to get. I don't know, maybe they left some of it on the cutting room floor and edited for time, or if we're not smart enough to get the whole meaning behind him. But the Christmas dinner thing was weird, but the Twin Peaksy dream sequence of this whole development is just it went beyond anything that I think any of us could possibly get, no matter how much we overthink it.
Okay, so another thing that I overthought about it was that I kind of wonder if Madison wasn't having her Carol moment, because I think she was looking around that graveyard thinking, I'm responsible for all of these deaths.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even the deaths where she was not directly implicated, I think she feels really responsible. And, Carol kind of had her whole, I'm just going to sit it out and not do anything anymore breakdown. And I kind of wondered if Madison wasn't headed there.
I think she was already headed there. She had resigned to basically not seeing her kids again.
Mm-hmm.
So
and not having that world that Victor was trying to sell her at the dam.
Right. The more she strived for that, the more people died or left her. Which I go back to the writing of the last episode and Alicia's little monologues that she had about, no place is safe and we have to keep moving and things like that. So, yeah.
It was pretty good.
It was
I have
pretty
to
good.
say, I really, again, I'm going to say this is probably the second episode, the last episode of the season was my top episode for this series so far.
Yeah. Yeah. This was by far one of the better ones. I think it's actually, I think it's number 3 for me. I think number 2 was last episode with the Alicia and Diana show.
Yeah. And what was your number 1 episode then?
I think it was last season's finale, if I remember right.
The one where they fled no, not the one where they fled Abby's place.
You're going to make me go back.
I know, I'm so bad. Well, while you're looking at that, so one of the things that I also really liked was the way that so this was in the first episode of this 2-episode deal. I liked the way that they were bringing all of the stories together. They were kind of setting people up in pairs. At one point, Taka and Daniel were together. At another point, Alicia and Diana were together. Then Alicia was paired with Proctor John. I mean, I just kind of felt like maybe they were setting up partnerships for the next season. I mean, ultimately, that's not what happened, but I liked initially the way they were kind of drawing all of those pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah, if I can't have my Alicia Diana show, I would definitely watch the
Alicia Proctor John show.
The Taka Crazy Dog show.
I would watch the Taka Crazy Dog show too, and I think that we're going to see them again, and I'm glad about that. They're
headed north,
and he has a lot of respect for Madison, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah. But everyone, even if we all get back together again, everyone's got some feelings about things and stuff.
They've got all the feelings.
All the feelings about stuff. I mean, Nick is mad at Madison for killing Troy. And Allison, I think, is a little miffed at having to be back with everyone when she just kind of wanted to strike out on her own.
Or you mean Alicia?
Alicia.
Yeah.
Madison is mad at her kids for, doing what they did. And Daniel wants to kill
Strand.
And probably Nick. And so I don't know how we reconcile all of this to come back together.
I don't either.
Is it going to be all about the Proctors? Enemy of my enemy is my friend. Everyone has to band together to beat the Proctors.
I don't know.
One good line I liked when Strand is talking about the Proctors. He says they make the narcos look like church ladies.
Yes, I noticed that too.
So, I mean, these guys are eating parts of zombie brains to fight better fighters. So they're seriously on the level.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk about a little bit was just it really bothered me, and I don't know, maybe it's just because of all of the news of the week, and sometimes I can't leave reality as much as I would like to because I keep getting reminded of it in this show. But I didn't like being reminded that women are so vulnerable. Like I really felt like Diana and Alicia ultimately ended up being very vulnerable the way that they were taken by the Proctors. I really didn't like the way Alicia ended up getting exploited by Proctor John.
Yeah.
It really bothered me. And I thought, I have never, even when Maggie was being held captive by the governor, even with Negan having all of his wives, I have never felt like women are as vulnerable in the zombie apocalypse in Walking Dead Prime as I did in this one series of episodes in Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
It really bothered me a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always had that creepy, rapey vibe with Troy, especially when he's around Madison.
Right.
So I feel like it that is present more in this, that the women seem to be a little more vulnerable.
Well, and Proctor John definitely has that vibe with Alicia.
Yeah, and and in that way, I'm kind of hoping that he is kind of like Negan, where he abhors rape. That everything must be done willingly.
A villain with something of an ethic.
Yeah,
I don't know. I still think Negan can say he abhors rape, but I don't think he really does because his wives are not necessarily willing. But I digress.
right, right.
Well, so I'm going to kind of urge us to wrap it up because I think we could talk about this a lot more, actually. So
I was just looking. Yeah, I was looking at my notes, and I had so many more notes on the first episode that we didn't like as much as the second episode. I think the second episode it spoke a lot for itself. I mean, where do we go from here? The dam has been released, and the water is to the people.
Where do we go from here? We go to Houston.
We go to Houston.
So who is, seriously for real, who is your crossover?
So I really, really, really thought it was going to be the Moraleses.
I did
the
too,
family.
but I'm buying more and more into the Abraham's army.
I'm buying an Abe alone. I'm thinking it's going to be Abe alone because I was reading something today about kind of the not Abe alone, as in like Abe with his wife and daughter.
Oh, okay, I like that.
Yeah, there was a good article. I can't remember who I read it on, but it was talking about the timeline when Abe finds his wife and his daughter and everything, and he, I think if I remember right, like he finds somebody raping his wife or his wife gets raped, and that's why he goes uber protective.
That's why he ended up killing all those people at that convenience store.
Yeah, and that's why his wife leaves him, as his wife thinks he's gone berserko, and ultimately she and the daughter die because she doesn't have the protection of Abraham. And that's when we meet Eugene. And so I kind of think that it may be before he finds his wife or during that time or something. I don't think we're going to see the full Eugene and Rosita and everybody. But I may be wrong.
Well, so I actually took the time to look up, where did we see Abraham? Where did we get Abraham's backstory? Because I couldn't remember for sure that it was Houston, but in fact it is Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that definitely speaks well for, it's probably going to be Abe. I think you're right. It's probably going to be Abe before Abraham's army. The other thing I think, just in terms of that being possible, is that it would be a huge ratings boon for Fear the Walking Dead because people really like Abe.
Oh, definitely.
And, I just think it's a really good move on their part. And this is something that I didn't realize until I was watching Talking Dead. So Scott Gimple has never been an executive producer on this series, and he is now coming on board as an executive producer on Fear.
Ooh.
So, I think that definitely speaks to that as well.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So who all's going to Houston? So we have a guess as to who our crossover is. Who's going to go? Is it going to be Alicia? Is it going to be Proctor John? Does Madison end up there?
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know why anybody would want to go there knowing that Proctor, unless they're going to try, unless they're going to try to get ahead of this thing and kill Proctor John before he kills them.
And if you have Abe, if he's ultimately the crossover, Abe, who is intensely noble and has the strong sense of right or wrong, does he take out Proctor John?
Yeah.
And where do we lose connection with him because he ends up in Walking Dead Prime?
This will be interesting.
I wonder, are we totally wrong and is it somebody else?
Is it the Moraleses?
So, talking about that, Thomas Reese posted on Biters, will Alicia, Nick, Troy, and Diana become the Whisperers? Which I think is kind of an interesting potential for crossover as well. They're a group that we have not met yet that happen in the Walking Dead comic books. So we know Troy's not going to be among that number, but is that how the rest of our group from Fear gets drawn in? Do they end up becoming a fixture from the comic book series and drawn into Walking Dead proper?
Wouldn't that be a great, say we're only giving Fear the Walking Dead
4
a final
seasons.
season,
Yeah.
4. And wouldn't that be great to have some of the characters live and then suddenly pop up for an episode or two in The Walking Dead Prime as bad guys, or, just someone like Alicia, maybe she's screw this being with people stuff. I want a place to shower and I'll be out by morning,
Well, what's really interesting is the leader of the Whisperers is a woman. So, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
My thought was maybe we're going to see Eugene in the crossover because we don't see Eugene feature very prominently in the season 8 trailer. But then I did go back and watch the episode 8 preview that they did on Talking Dead. They had a special where they had Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Scott Gimple. And who else? I can't remember who the third was on the couch, but it was a preview of season 8. And they did talk to Josh McDermott, quite a bit. And it sounds like Eugene is more present than we realize.
So there was a couple of screenshots that I tried to send to you from
which I totally laughed because I was like, oh yeah, that's as clear as mud.
So what it is if going back to if you watched the live show that Dianne and I did for the SMG podcast marathon, you can still watch it on Capes and Lunatics on their YouTube page.
Hey, Phil. Shout out to Phil for shouting out to us for shouting out to him.
So meta. So I think Dianne and I are in the episode 2. If you just want to see us, but I do highly recommend watching everybody else. But we there was one scene that I thought that I had. Someone was their eyeball was peeking through a hole in a container truck type thing. And then when I went back and rewatched, there is a dad bod in his tidy whities sitting on the floor with the light streaming in through these holes or bullet holes or whatever. And I'm assuming it's the same shipping container that we were seeing somebody peek their eyeball out of. And I'm going, what white guy has a dad bod that probably wears tidy whities? So I'm like, did Negan lock him in a shipping container? Did Rick's group lock him in a shipping container? Did he lock himself in a shipping container to hide? You know, like, what's going on? I think that is Eugene. I don't know what's going on, but I think Eugene is locked in a shipping container.
So did he cross Negan? Did he finally cross Negan?
Or is Negan just paranoid that he's going to cross him?
Right.
I mean, because I don't even think he has to cross him. I think Negan's just got to get an itch. So, yeah.
Well, we have a lot going on, man.
There is, yeah. We've been left with a lot. I do like the pretty big cliffhanger they've left us on.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
So.
Well, that's probably it for the night, huh?
It is. Next week,
you and Bri and the premiere. And I'm so jealous. I mean, I actually have to make sure that the 2-hour Talking Dead gets taped because I'm so not going to be here for it. And I'll be lucky if I see it in real time. So
stay away from Facebook.
I know, right? I'm going to have to stay off of Facebook for like a week.
Yeah. The news, nothing.
Oh.
That's
Torture.
But yes, it will be Bri and I joining you next week for the season 8 premiere of Walking Dead.
And the week after. You've got 2 weeks, sister, because I'm going to be traveling.
Don't jinx me.
Well, and in the meantime, everybody remember, take it one dead day at a time.
Getting
Close.
better.
Yeah.
Now Bri and I are going to go through
Yeah, you guys are going to have to figure it out. All right, everybody, have a good week. Enjoy the premiere. I'm so jealous. Drink a shot for me or something, please.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.